I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm not saying they're going to be elite, but I'm really excited to see the Florida Gators linebacker room.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Tuesday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33. Also find more video content with Whole Nine Sports on Twitter. On YouTube, WHOLENINE Sports. We will have EA Sports College Football 25 Dynasties coming out there. Just saying. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. And the Florida Gators linebacker room has me excited. And I think a big part of that is one, linebacker is one of my favorite positions on defense to evaluate. Always has been since I started covering the draft almost 10 years ago, actually. So that's always been an awesome part for me. I don't know what it is. I love linebackers. I love good linebacker play. And last year's linebacker play was terrible. I think terrible is a good word to use. And I am excited to see what it's going to be in 2024. First off, at the top, Ron Roberts, new executive head coach of the defense, co-DC, linebackers coach is going to be his position. And everybody who's watched this show to any extent really knows I love Ron Roberts. You can go back to when Billy Napier got hired at Florida. I was like, hey, I want Ron Roberts to be the defensive coordinator. That's been a thing. I've been a big fan of Ron Roberts going back to the Louisiana days, just because of what he's done scheme-wise, going back to Delta State even. Obviously, I wasn't following him at Delta State, but I'm a big fan of what Ron Roberts brings to the table. I think that schematically, he's going to help the entire defense, not just the linebacker room. But we're not talking too much about that today. I just wanted to mention him because he is the position coach. He is the inside linebacker position coach here. So I did want to touch on that a little bit. But again, we're not going too in-depth. I will say he's put out some fantastic linebackers into the NFL. Terrell Bernard really sticks out for me there with the Buffalo Bills. I think it was a second-round pick 2 years ago. Maybe the best football IQ I've ever seen from a linebacker in a draft prospect that I covered. And I think he was just incredible, truly, honestly. But Ron Roberts helped him really figure things out and help him take the next step. But to the actual personnel that's players on the roster, last year, two significant contributors at linebacker left the team, or two significant contributors from the Florida Gators defense in the linebacker room from 2023 left the team this offseason. We had Scooby Williams left after the season. Manny Nunnery entered the transfer portal, withdrew from the transfer portal, went through the spring, had a pick in the spring game, and then he left and he entered the portal again. So Scooby Williams played 455 snaps at linebacker. He was your sixth highest snap count on the entire defense. Missed a game. Would have passed Jalen Kemper for fifth highest, but missed a game. So sixth highest snap count on the entire defense. Manny Nunnery had the 13th most snaps. Significant contributors. Manny Nunnery was your linebacker 3 last year. Whether or not you like him, whether or not you think he should have been, he played the third most snaps on that defense. Same number of games as Derek Wingo too. But Manny Nunnery was arguably your best coverage linebacker on the defense last year, outside of Shemar James. But Manny Nunnery was arguably your best coverage linebacker. He's pretty good there on most plays. I mean, yeah, there were some plays that didn't go his way. There were some plays where he made crucial mistakes, and I'm not taking that away from him. Like, you made mistakes. Happens. 4th and 14 versus Missouri, of course, should have covered Luther Burden. Did not cover Luther Burden. Did not cover arguably the best receiver in the SEC last year. Yeah, a little bit rough there. So Manny Nunnery, and he had his flaws too as a run defender. Block shedding wasn't his strong suit. Scooby Williams was your starting Mike linebacker for the majority of the season, really the whole season, except for the game that he missed. And I've said this entire last year, honestly. I have no problem saying, like, I love Scooby Williams. I do. There's some players that I don't care if they're very good, very bad. I really don't care. There's just something about these guys that I love. And for Scooby Williams, for me, one of the things that I loved was that whether or not he was playing well, he was playing like an animal, like just hair on fire, running around, being crazy. And great job communicating. You can watch games and you can see Scooby Williams throwing up the hove, whatever that call was, doing the little belly rub thing. I'm pretty sure they rocked the baby at one point. Like they had a bunch of defensive calls that they would constantly change so that they couldn't have, a sign stealing issue or they didn't have a tell, whatever you want to call it. And Scooby was fantastic at that. That being said, not an SEC starting caliber linebacker. Okay. Between the whistles, not great, right? And that's honestly fine that he left the portal. Florida will play him this year since he's with Texas A&M. So assuming he's healthy, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't followed him or Texas A&M much. So I honestly don't know. But Scooby's a player that I've loved. And I've said even again during last season, I was like, look, he's not good. But he's doing everything that you'd want him to do. He's just not good enough on the field. I don't fault Scooby for not being good enough. I don't hate Scooby because he's not good enough. He was an edge that was playing off-ball linebacker. No, like that's just not something that transfers easily. It's just something that's hard work. And I think that IQ at linebacker is one of the most important things. It's probably one of the most heavily weighed traits you can have at linebacker. He didn't have it because he wasn't a linebacker. Simple as that. So Scooby, I put that on the coaching staff that he was bad in starting. I also put that on Dan Mullen and Billy Napier's recruiting in that first year for not having better options at linebacker in 2023. Then you talk about who's coming into the room. Pop Howard. Pop Howard came in from South Carolina. He, of course, was very highly sought after in the 2022 or 2023 recruiting class. Decided to go to South Carolina, played a rotational linebacker role there, then transferred to Florida. Man, I know that there's a lot of people in every fan base that go, oh, we brought this guy in from the transfer portal. Huge upgrade over the last guy. I think in this case, you're not just being a fan if you say that. I think Pop Howard can be great as a middle linebacker. Immediate upgrade over Scooby. And again, not a knock on Scooby at all. I don't have a knock. I don't have anything against Scooby, but I think Pop Howard, massive upgrade over him already. Partially because he's actually an off-ball linebacker, but also like you look at the spring game, and I can even pull up the we had one of the scouting reports for Pop Howard during the spring game, and I mean, I'll read the overall. The Insider program got these and has access to these. It's the links in the description below. It's joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGators. But for Pop Howard, the overall, there's pros or strengths, weaknesses from the game, and the overall. And it's an overall good game for Pop. Most of the negatives came in a short period of time, a couple bad plays strung together. Clearly still learning where he fits in the scheme. Has potential very clearly. Athletic, long, physical, aggressive, should continue to grow with more experience. Zone coverage over the middle of the field needed to find a bit more. He does still look like he's trying to find his footing. South Carolina had him man blitzing, but in man coverage on running backs, tight ends, he was in a flat zone like twice. Success as a blitzer, like he's got a skill set where you look at him and you go, he could do something big for you. He has a lot of potential. Again, he's entering his true sophomore season. So he will have at least this year and next to really take over. But, I mean, as far as a Mike linebacker, Pop Howard was built in a lab to do that. It's fantastic. RJ Moten is also in the room from safety. Had a surprisingly quick transition from safety to linebacker. Tackling is still an issue. It was in the spring game. He had some successful blitzes, but again, that was against Damian George, who, while improved at guard, has not been able to handle off-ball blitzes in the spring game. You see it happen a couple times. Off-ball blitzers get him. Pass pro still an issue. We will talk about the freshmen later in the show when we talk about just recruiting in general around the linebacker position. But honestly, I'm just really excited for what you had changing in the room, and then also what you're bringing back from last year. GameTime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer that it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from receipts, and the lowest price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And if you don't know what all those things I just listed are, last-minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you want. I've been going to quite a few concerts with GameTime. All-in prices, so you don't have to worry about, secret fee. All right. Views from your seat, literally what it sounds like. You pick your ticket, and you see what you see from that seat. It's fantastic. Make sure there's nothing obstructing your view. Lowest price guarantee means that if you find a ticket in the same section and row for less, GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. Yeah. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And Florida is returning one of, I think he might be maybe the most loved Florida Gator linebacker right now. Maybe the most loved, one of the most loved Florida Gators in general right now. Linebacker Shemar James. Best linebacker on the team last year. Wasn't even close. I don't care what metric you're using. I'll look at the PFF grade right now to see where he stands as far as being the best off-ball linebacker. Shemar James had a 69.1 on PFF. 12th highest graded player. That's not including guys who played like a couple of snaps. 69.1 grade at linebacker. Second place that, again, played any significant snaps was Manny Nunnery with 60.7. Big jump. Shemar James was just, he's been great since he got on campus. Even as a true freshman, he didn't play a ton. He was rotational with Ventrell Miller, who was banged up for a bit. But Ventrell Miller and Amari Burney, Shemar kind of came in there and rotated in. And again, when there were injuries, he played there. But honestly, the linebacker room from last year, Shemar James was the only SEC starter quality linebacker. But he's also really damn good. I'm just being honest about it. Yeah, he was the only SEC starter quality linebacker. So maybe it doesn't mean much to say that he was the best on the team. Like I just said 2 minutes ago. I was like, yeah, he's the best linebacker of the team. Doesn't say much if the rest of the linebackers aren't good, right? He's damn good. Like, we're talking, would not shock me if he's in contention for all SEC defense this year. Shemar James is good, damn good, going to be an NFL draft pick, probably day 2, I want to say. Going to be representing the Florida Gators at Media Day next week. If you care about that, I believe they're on Wednesday, I want to say the 17th. But I think that Shemar James is really going to benefit from introducing Pup Howard to the defense. And we've talked about this a lot recently, especially, which I feel like is just a weird coincidence. But Shemar James last year did not get to blitz as frequently as he should have been allowed to. I believe that a big part of that is that the other linebackers were so bad in coverage that if you blitz Shemar, you've got to keep one of them in coverage. And that's just bad business. And so they would keep Shemar in coverage and blitz one of the other linebackers. Okay. Pup Howard, better in coverage. Also, pretty damn good blitzer. I think having both of them as which one's rushing in, which one's dropping back, are they both rushing in, are they both dropping back, whatever it is, just having them as options for blitzers, I think some offenses are going to really struggle handling that. And Shemar, again, could take that next step that we kind of expect. ended the season with an injury. Wasn't awesome, but I mean, Shemar has the potential to be, dare I say, the next great Florida Gators linebacker. That is not too crazy for me to say. Derek Wingo also returns. Great leader, plays like an animal. Is an off-ball linebacker. Isn't great. And I have nothing against Derek Wingo. I think he's very nice. Every time that I've been in a Twitter space with him or anything, he's been very kind. Awesome kid, very articulate, but needs to improve a lot in coverage in order for me to be like, yeah, you're a quality linebacker here. Coverage was a struggle for Derek Wingo. I understand that. And by that, I mean, it wasn't his only struggle. He had some issues last season. There is, of course, the clip of the LSU running back blowing him up in pass pro, which was not fun to see. Derek Wingo struggled tackling last season. But that, like, I'll chalk both of those up to his injuries with his shoulder. I have no problem chalking it up. Coverage, though, is coverage. Like coverage is coverage. It's different if your shoulder hurts. Not going to slow you down too much. Might slow you down a little bit because you can't really, full range of motion when you're running. But even then, to an extent, you're not really in a full sprint in coverage. Being bad in coverage is being bad in coverage. And being bad in coverage in 2024, death sentence. If we're being honest, just it is what it is. But fantastic leader in the locker room, in the weight room, in meetings, plays like his hair is on fire at all times. Big fan of Wingo. Hope that this year that he's healthy, he can really play. Like even if you're not great in coverage, even if you're not finding success as a pass rusher, just being able to contribute and actually make your tackles, huge. For the depth, huge. Jaden Robinson at linebacker, he was a freshman last year, didn't play much on defense, just because he didn't. But I think that his ceiling as a safety turned linebacker, huge. He has a lot of room for improvement. That being said, also, he has a lot of room for improvement. Get what I'm saying there? Like, he could be great, but he's not even close right now. I do think that for him, a big part of being an actually good linebacker is being able to handle the, I guess we'll say, gritty parts of the position, if that makes sense. He's obviously going to be gaining weight, I mean, really throughout his career. Let's see actually what he was last year and what he is this year, if we can see that on the roster. They usually have that listed for what they were, but yeah, Jaden Robinson is someone that will probably continue to gain weight. He's gained 5 pounds since last year. They've listed him as a 1/4 of an inch taller. I don't know if he actually grew or if they just didn't do the 1/4 inch on the website last year, but he's gained about 5 pounds, which I'm not saying he needs to pack on a ton. He's 233. That's fine size for a linebacker right now, but of course there's different kinds of weight and just honestly having the instinct and the ability to deconstruct blocks, make your way downtown there and make some plays. But Jaden Robinson, ceiling wise, huge. That safety experience in 2024, like I mentioned, coverage is huge. Being able to play coverage in a variety of coverages cannot be overstated enough. The Florida Gators in 2024, so this class, brought in arguably the best linebacker recruiting class in the entire country. And I don't say that just because they're Florida. I'm not saying that they are the best just because, there's other kids that I don't fully know everything about. But looking at their linebackers, they brought in 2 linebackers in Miles Graham and Aaron Childs in this recruiting class. They had a Darius Hayes, who, even when he was committed to Florida, I feel like a lot of us were like, yeah, edge more than anything else. I still feel he'd be better at edge, but he is playing off-ball linebacker at Miami for the time being. But Miles Graham, of course, the legacy, 6'1.5", 215 pounds, was the 57th ranked player on threes composite, 5th ranked linebacker, 11th player in the state of Florida. 24/7 brought him down a lot there. They have him at 114th. Everyone else had him top 60. They had him as the 9th linebacker. Everyone else had him top 4. And they had him as 15th player in the state. Everyone else had him top 12. So Miles Graham fell a bit because 24/7's rankings, but one of the best linebackers in the country. Then Aaron Childs, 73rd ranked player in the country, 7th ranked linebacker, 2nd in the state of Maryland. Okay. On threes, the one that brought him down here a lot. He's 124th. Everywhere else, he was top 85. They had him as the 8th linebacker. Everywhere else, he was top 6th. They had the 2nd player in Maryland. Everywhere else had him, or they had him as the 3rd. Everywhere else had him 2nd. Rivals had him 1st player in the state of Maryland. All that to say, that's a hell of a haul to bring in. I get it. Bringing in 2 linebackers is like, yeah, whatever. It's 2 linebackers. Generally, you want 3. Do you? It's 2024. You're going to play 4 or 5 linebackers for significant snaps, assuming people stay healthy. Do you need to bring in 3 every year? If you got 2 constantly cycling in, you can go with the transfer portal as well. I'm just saying I'm not too hung up on only bringing in 2. I will say, I know that Florida Gators fans love both of them. I also think that they have insane potential, especially as a duo coming up together. I'm not too sold right now on them being early contributors for the team. Mostly because of the same way we talk about offensive linemen here. Brian Smith, our recruiting insider, he's on the show. We talk about offensive linemen, and we go, yeah, you don't want them to play early as freshmen because usually offensive linemen in high school are kind of just overpowering guys. You can't really do that much in the college football level, especially with how much more complex offensive schemes are, and your technique really needs to develop. So you take time. You don't want a freshman offensive lineman playing early, right? Cool. Linebackers is one of the hardest positions to play for freshmen. Okay. With how complex offenses are now and how often they target the middle. Like I know a lot of us talk about, the deep ball and you need to go. A lot of offenses now will target their slot receivers and their tight ends over the middle of the field, and they'll go right at your linebackers. Because why wouldn't they? Right? Like they're shorter passes from instead of a quarterback having to throw downfield and to the sideline. A lot of coverages now, like cover 3, there's that little pocket in the seams that you could probably hit there. Cover 2, there's the post over a linebacker between the safeties. Cover 1, you probably have a linebacker in man, attack them. It's tough. RPO game, come on now. I don't want to see either Miles Graham or Aaron Childs playing against Ole Miss just because Lane Kiffin does this funny little thing that he loves to do called put linebackers in hell. We often talk about with the read option in the RPO game, we often talk about the conflict defender, who you're creating conflict with. Like in the read option, it's that backside edge because he dictates what happens. If he stands up, you hand the ball to the running back. If he runs in at the running back, quarterback takes off. He's your conflict defender because he's in conflict. Okay. Linebackers get put in conflict defender positions with the RPO game. So I make this read. I look if I have that window. If a linebacker comes up when I'm doing the little play, I don't want to say pretending because you might actually hand it off. But if the linebacker runs up and he's trying to come down on it, I'll hit the slant right over the middle. Things like that. The linebacker's in hell. You do that right over a seam too. You could look right at the linebacker, and if he runs in the blitz, you throw it to the tight end running right up the seam. It's hell. And I think true freshman linebackers, it's tough to play. That's one of the reasons Pup Howard's season last year was so impressive. He wasn't awesome as a true freshman linebacker, but he played significant snaps in the SEC as a true freshman linebacker. And he looked, I want to say he looked average to above average for just a linebacker. So doing that as a true freshman in the SEC is tough stuff. It is. It's just my opinion. Maybe you disagree with it, whatever it may be. I'm not saying it's the hardest position, but I am saying that with modern offenses, it's tough to play, okay, as a true freshman. For 2025 and beyond, none committed right now. Shockingly, none committed. There's 8 commits for Florida right now. 1 is a punter, 2 are running backs, 2 are tight ends, 2 are defensive linemen. That leaves 1 spot open for any other position, and it's a receiver. So Florida, no linebackers committed yet, which not ideal. But right now, Florida is expecting Miles Johnson, recent Alabama decommit. Alabama kind of really sagged off him there recruiting wise. It's expected to be between Florida and Ole Miss for Miles Johnson. So we'll see what we can get there. They're still in it for guys like Tavian Wallace and Ty Jackson at linebacker. I mean, look, NIL is a thing. Winning games is a thing. It's tough, but Florida is still very much in it for both of those guys. I want to make that one abundantly clear. I don't know what their plan is long term. I'm honestly not stressing it too much for the 2025 class, just because you kind of have a little bit of cushion with Jaden Robinson being so young, with Aaron Childs and Miles Graham coming in, the portal's available. I'm not stressing really a non-premium position. Like if you get Miles Johnson and you're done at linebacker, that's cool. It is what it is. But I will say 2026, then you need to kind of pile up. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, you're available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I'll see you all next time.